Buy or Sell is presented by the Robertson and Cox Real Estate Team. Looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? We've got your back. Centrally located in Radford, Virginia, the RNC team is proudly and professionally serving the New River Valley, Roanoke, and Southwest Virginia. With over 35 combined years of experience, we have all the knowledge needed to help you reach your real estate goals. Contact us today for all of your real estate needs. Visit rncteam.com to learn more.
What's going on, Hokies fans? Welcome into everybody's favorite show. It's another edition of Buy or Sell. We got the football crew on set. Nick Brown producing the show behind the scenes. And without further ado, let's get into last week's results. Andy had himself quite the week. Ended up with a 3-2 record. Miami wins by 20 or more. Andy went ahead and sold it, got it right. Drones, 30 or more passing attempts, sold it, got that one wrong. Tech forces a turnover. He bought it, got it right. Tech has 3 or more plays of 25 or more yards. He bought it, got that one wrong. And then Miami, 22 or more points in the first half. Andy sold it, got it right. Chris, rough week for us, my friend. Yeah. You ended up getting 4 of them wrong, 1 of them right. The one that you got right, though, Tech forces a turnover. And you said they would do so. They did so and then some.
Started out strong.
Yep.
Started out strong, and it was all downhill from there.
Couple plays into the game there. David ended up with a 2-3 week. The ones that he got right, Miami wins by 20 or more. He sold it, got that one right. Tech forces a turnover. He bought it, got that one correct. I had a rough week as well. Ended up going 1-4 in the process. The lone correct answer I had, I sold it that Miami would win by 20 or more. Obviously, the Canes won by just 4. Nick, he ended up going 3-2 on the week. The ones he got right, Miami by 20 or more. He got Tech forces a turnover, and then Miami 22 or more points in the first half. He sold it, got that one correct. Will, riding high, a 3-2 week as well. He got the top 3 right. Miami wins by 20 or more. Drones 30 or more passing attempts, and then Tech forces a turnover. He bought
Gio,
the previous 2.
I was the only one to buy Drones 30-plus passing attempts.
Sometimes going against the grain works out, and right. And it did for you right
Most
there.
Most of the time it doesn't, and that's why I'm at the bottom of all these things.
Yeah, going against the grain did not work for me because I sold Tech forcing a turnover, and that went vanquished about 3 plays into the game with a Cam Ward fumble. But we got a great game out of it nevertheless. Then the fans, 2-3 on the week. The 2 they got right, they bought Tech forcing a turnover. They sold Tech having 3 or more plays of 25 or more yards. So take a look.
Can I interject here? Because the cheating refs in this game, and I realize it is painful for Virginia Tech players and coaches and fans and stuff, but the real victim of this overturned call here at the end is Buy or Sell here, because the 25-plus, 3 plays of 25-plus yards. Prelu has the 61-yard touchdown that they call back because of a bogus holding penalty. That would have gotten it there. The buy would have hit there. And then the touchdown at the end that they set as a touchdown, then overturn it, even though there's not indisputable evidence. The cheating refs must be held accountable in this. Otherwise, I'm 4-1 last week, and maybe even 5-0 if Drones doesn't have to throw the ball a ton on that last drive.
Yeah.
So they really stole this from me, and that's the real travesty of this week. I just wanted to get that on the record here.
Well, and more important than that, the fans were the only ones who sold that. So if it had flipped the other way, we all would have gained.
It was so wrong, too. It was so wrong. Don't get me started on that.
So the standings through week 5, the fans hold the lead. They're correct 48% of the time. Andy still holding strong in second place. He's correct 44% of the time. A 3-way tie in third place. Chris, David, and Will are all correct 40% of the time. Nick has come out of the basement. He has a 6th place position with 32% correctness, and then if that's even a word. And then I'm in the bottom. 28% of the time I am correct.
So you said he was in 6th place. Are we going to do ribbons?
Yeah.
At the end of the season?
Don't you hold a
7th place ribbon?
Don't you host a gambling podcast? You're 28% of this?
Andy,
I'm just asking.
We pride ourselves on the production of the show, but the last 2 weeks we went 1-5 and 1-5.
Ooh,
so yeah, not very good.
So fade the show is what you're saying.
No, don't fade the show. Hopefully the production. Oh yeah, definitely go against the show. Go against everything we say. But tune in. Got it covered on Friday afternoons every week. All right, the props this week. They're fun. They're fun. And shout out to Nick for coming up with some fun lines here. Hokies win by 10 or more. We'll start it with Chris.
I bought it. I mean, I've got them winning by 10, so I guess I have to buy, right?
There you go. Andy?
I sold this one. I think I don't even have them covering in this game. I have winning by 7. And, you know, honestly, if you're giving me the prospect that they go out there and lose this game, a road game against a team that's not great, they've done that before. So, you know, you bring all that into the equation too, I'll take the opportunity. I did sell.
Amen. What you got, Will?
Well, it's one of these things I don't feel good about it, but I picked Tech to win 31-21, so I'm buying it.
All right. Nick, what did you do for this one? I do not have yours in front of me. I do have it in front of me. I lied completely. Nick's always so good, putting it right in the script. Nick went ahead and bought this one. He's got the Hokies winning by quite the margin as well. He's got the final score 38-24, I believe. 38-17. David was 38-24. If you tune into the preview podcast that goes up yesterday, if you're watching this on Thursday. All right, I'm going to buy this one. I have Virginia Tech winning it 31-17. Math says that's by 10 or more. So I got the Hokies winning by 10 or more. PJ Prelude, 3 or more carries. We'll start with Andy.
I sold this one. He's gotten there once this year, but he's also only gotten carries in 2 games so far. And the one game he got it was a blowout. So I would have to imagine Virginia Tech would be blowing them out for him to get that many carries in this game. And, you know, I'm not predicting that to happen. So I got to go against it. And he looked great on that one touchdown run, but you know, Malachi Thomas is the next guy in the game right now, or at least has been up to this point. I think they're going to get a heavy dose of tooting and drones in this game running the ball. So I sold this one.
What you got, Chris?
I sold it as well. I feel like after what he did, after that play against Miami, maybe he should be in a position where we should be buying this because, I mean, that was a big play. And if he can generate big plays like that, even if he only didn't get that many carries per game, even if he's an occasional big play threat, he should probably touch the ball a little bit more. At least if I were him, that would be my argument after that play.
Yeah, he could be like a third down back too, in which case you're throwing it to him. Those aren't carries. So
True. What you got, Will?
Well, in this case, when Nick told me about this one, I thought, is this a Radford High School thing? Because Nick does play-by-play over the radio for Radford High School. That's where PJ went to school. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he said, no, this is legit. He said, I'm getting the vibe that PJ's moving up the depth chart. So that's where the idea came from, Nick. I'm not there yet, so I sold it. I don't think he's going to have 3 or more carries. Wouldn't surprise me if he did, but I'm selling.
So, all right, so can we clarify what was the exact question? How was the question?
The question, PJ, this is how Nick wrote it. PJ Prelude, 3 or more carries. Buy or
okay.
sell.
Okay, carries. So
yes,
you didn't
not
say
touches.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Did I say touches?
No.
Okay.
I was just making sure.
Okay. I forgot to tell David's from the first one. So he bought Hokies win by 10 or more. A little bit of a scramble here on buy or sell this week. And then David, PJ Prelude, 3 or more carries. He sold it. Nick buys this one. I'm going to join Nick. I buy it. And I think it's because a run like last week, though it doesn't count, he was in there for that drive, earned some more opportunities. Kind of the same notion that Chris had went off of. I like PJ Prelude to earn 3 or more carries this week, especially if the game goes according to plan. Alec Iomanor, 4 or more receptions. We'll start with Will.
Yes, I'm going to buy that. He averages over 5 receptions a game, and he's awesome. Tech's got great defensive backs, great cover guys, but Iomanor's one of those guys that he's going to get his.
Demands the football. Yeah, what you got, Andy?
Yeah, I'll buy that on a guy that had 284 yards in a game. I know those aren't receptions. I forget what he had. Receptions with 13. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So 4, yeah, I thought that was pretty low. I think he'll get there pretty easily.
What you got, Chris?
I'm buying that one, and that's a question where nobody's going to gain any ground on.
Yeah, I think everybody's buying this one.
I bought this.
I would have set this one at 5.5 or something like that if I were you, Nick. But
I'm with you guys. I buy this one. David buys this one. It does not buy all around though. Nick sells it. Nick, briefly, why?
ooh,
Dorian Strong.
I don't know.
He says Dorian Strong. So all right, there we go. Nick sells it. Maybe going against the grain will work out for him. I don't know about this time. He said injuries do happen as well. That's
he wants to
fluky.
get back in that basement.
Yeah.
He misses the basement, so he's trying to get back
It's
there.
cozy down there. Let me tell you. It's warm. Hokies, 135 or more rush yards. Let's start with Andy.
I bought this one pretty quickly before I thought about why the number was that low, because Stanford has a really good rushing defense. I just think that's the way Tech has to play. If they're going to win this game, they have to run the ball, and that's sort of what this offense is geared to do. So I don't necessarily think they're going to get to 135 yards on 20 carries, but I think they'll have 40-plus carries on the ground, or I think they'll try to in that instance, and that way you don't have to average like 5 or 6 to get to that number. So I think just through persistence, they get to that number.
What about you, Chris?
I bought it as well. I don't think, unless Stanford came out and jumped out to like a 2-score lead, which it doesn't seem like they have the firepower to do, then Virginia Tech should be able to stick to a run-heavy game plan. And, just thinking back to the Miami game, Tech threw 34 passes, but how many passing yards did they have? 180 something, 170 something. I mean, that's an extremely low yards per attempt number. Tech is just not efficient when they pass the football. I think if you do the Miami game over again, you try to mix in a few more runs and a fewer passes.
Like on a 3rd and 3 after the big interception in the red zone.
That's an excellent example, Gio. But yeah, so I think Virginia Tech will be able to stick to the game plan this week, and assuming that's their game plan, which it should be, I would think, then yeah, I'm buying it.
What you got, Will?
I am also buying it. That was a good number, Nick, because it's a little sketchy whether they'll be over or under it. Clemson, for a reference, had 150 yards rushing against Stanford, but that included a 34-yard scramble for a touchdown by Cade Klubnik. So only 116 yards rushing outside of that one play. But the flip side of that argument is I could see drones ripping off a long one too. So I bought it.
I went ahead and bought this one as well. David also buys it, and then Nick buys it. So everybody it seems like has Virginia Tech 135 or more. And we go finally to our last one. It looks like Andy was going to say something for a second. So I was leaning in. Hokies force 2 or more turnovers. We'll start with Andy.
I bought this one. I think typically I would be default to sell on any kind of turnover number because I feel like they're kind of fluky. You can be great at getting turnovers, but the opportunities just don't arise. I think the thing that put me on the buy side of this is the quarterback situation for Stanford. And if it's a backup coming in and he doesn't have a whole lot of experience, I think he might put some passes in dangerous spots. And this has been an opportunistic defense for the Hokies lately. So I bought this one.
How about you, Will?
I bought it also, and my logic is very similar to Andy's. I mean, even if Ashton Daniels plays, he throws a lot of interceptions.
That's a good point.
He threw some head scratchers against Clemson, so I'm buying it.
How about you, Chris?
I sold it, and I was back and forth. The only reason I sold it is because Virginia Tech hasn't forced very many turnovers under Brent Pry. So what are the chances they force a bunch of turnovers 2 weeks in a row?
Fair.
That was my reasoning.
Fair. I went ahead and bought this one kind of for the same reasons that Andy had alluded to. Feels like they're turning to your point, Chris. It feels like they're turning it over more this year than they have the previous 2. And for that reason, I bought it. David went ahead and bought this one. Nick went ahead and bought this one. So it looks like you're the only one that sold it.
That's how I make up ground.
So I went buys across the board. That could either be really, really good or really, really bad. I think I was the only one to have the same pick consistently throughout the entirety of the week. Fellas, looking forward to a fun one on Saturday against Stanford.
Yep.
Should be fun.
Looking forward to it. All right, for Nick Brown, for Will Stewart, for Andy Bitter, for Chris Coleman, I'm Giovanni Heater saying so long. Enjoy the game on Saturday. Another edition of Buy or Sell.